Evolve together with Empower People. Introducing Empower People, a nonprofit that is here to educate and connect leaders to empower the people, organizations, and communities they serve. Picture this, a world where everyone is connected, communities thrive, and individuals have the knowledge and skills to create positive change and live out their purpose. That's what Empower People is all about. We offer a wide range of courses, learning and growth development programs, and our signature Empower Hour event. Our services are centered on education and connection to support purpose-driven leaders. Ready to take the next step? Visit our website at www.MPWRPeople.org. That's MPWRPeople.org. And join the Empower People community as an individual, nonprofit, or for-profit organization. You can also find us on our On the Mic with Mike program, Evolve Together with Empower People, where I, Tiffany Joy Greene, MBA founder, executive director, and ex officio of Empower People, and guests will share insight on driving purpose-driven businesses, nonprofit, and for-profit. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Join Empower People today and unlock your true purpose. Evolve together.
And now we take a vote. So thank you for joining us today for Evolve Together with Empower People. Just to say a quick small blurb, since you just heard our commercial, what Empower People is about. We're a nonprofit organization, provides education, connection, and support to mission and purpose-driven leaders to drive positive impact and empower people. And today we got a special guest, Stacie Briley Goodman with Origamic Solutions. And if you probably missed it, but I'm hoping that Mike King puts a bloopers reel together at some point. This is take 2. His phone became possessed and we started hearing other things. So let's just acknowledge that there may be ghosts in the Mike King studio. I don't know, but you heard it here. So
yes.
So I'm Tiffany Joy Greene, the founder of Empower People and the host of the show today. And I'd like to pass the mic off to Stacie, and Stacie can say a little bit about herself and Origamic Solutions before we dive into the Jeopardy series. No, I'm just kidding.
Hi, I'm Stacie Goodman. I am the founder and principal consultant at Origamic Solutions. We're a small business advisory and operations consulting firm. We are focused on incremental improvements and helping our clients move through their business maturity curve as they learn how to put their infrastructure and measurements and controls and communications together to help their businesses reach new heights. And we focus on making sure that we are an affordable outlet for small businesses so that they can get the consulting and the ongoing support that they need to progress.
Navigating operations excellence right there.
That's right. We're navigating. We're co-piloting with you.
Love that. So anyway,
and I get to serve as an advisor on the Empower People.
That's
team.
right. And I love Stacie because Stacie, I feel like we are purpose aligned. Right?
We are.
And I would like for you, if you don't mind, to share with the audience, our million viewers. No, we don't, but I'd like that, Mike. Is what is your purpose? What is the purpose for Origamic? Tell us the story behind it.
So I was raised by small business owners. My uncle has had a construction firm for over 60 years. My mom has owned a small service station in the community for 40 years. And I was raised also by members of my church community who owned a flower shop that my mom worked at, owned a funeral home out on Iron Bridge. And so I was brought up through that entire community and saw the impact that they had on each other, how they helped other people. If they heard of somebody needed something and they knew of someone that could help, they went ahead and reached out. So it is, in my opinion, the cornerstone of our economy. Now, I've been a consultant for 25 years, helping Fortune 500s, traveling all over the United States and making their businesses run better. But the question was, what changes was that having on our immediate people? So my focus at that point was I wanted to help make life better for the employees, right? Make their jobs easier. So then I started focusing down into the local governments here in Chesterfield, I still work and help with the Commonwealth because I want to make sure that what I do impacts the community. And then we moved into creating Origamic because I found a gap as a small business owner in finding information and also understanding how to take the business from a solopreneur, a single person operation, up and build that into a multi-purpose person operation. There's a lot of steps. It takes a lot of time. And so we wanted to find a way to help provide education. I partnered with you, but I also am building education specifically around operations onto our website. But also then provide those, group classes or individual one-on-ones where we can dive deeper into somebody's business and help them work through all the different elements. So operations covers everything that is necessary to produce and deliver a service or a product. So we work with people, processes, data, and technology. And when you have to go through all of those things, you can't eat that whole pie in one bite, even if you want to. You got to slice it up into smaller increments. So for us, we use what's called the impact method, and we break the pieces down into what's like origami, folding things one fold at a time changes the dynamic of that piece of paper, like, and we make it into a paper airplane. So that's the whole purpose, is to make that easy to absorb, easy to execute, because it's in small enough elements, and there's a path of activities, a sequence of activities that will help businesses get from point A to point B in a manner that's not as overwhelming to them.
Now, we have for sure one listener right now. I think his name is Mike King, and he likes to say purpose is kumbaya sometimes. And so my question for you is, how important is knowing your purpose in operations? Like, if for a small business, how do those line up? Like, do they need to know their purpose for operations? Is it just kumbaya stuff?
It is helpful to understand your purpose. So before I started Impact Makers, I worked for a social entrepreneur company, which is extremely purpose driven. And one of the things that attracted to me that company is we did not pro bono work for nonprofits. So they had a deeper purpose. Our purpose was to make sure we helped them, as well as, build up in our community. And it was, when you have purpose as your driver, it's bigger than yourself, right? And when we have things we understand that we're just an element and we are a catalyst to helping others, it helps to create a legacy. It helps to create impact. If you are all by yourself and you're only focusing on money, that will get you so far, but then you still may be very lonely with a big pile of money. So the purpose helps, again, humans are designed to make connections. And when they make connections, they feel more value added as an individual into their society. Our younger generation is really starting to grasp that more so now than maybe even some of the previous generations. I also happen to be a very faith-based individual, Christian woman, and it is also drives my purpose that I'm here to serve a bigger purpose, and I'm working through my company to serve that purpose. And that may be to educate. It may just be to help somebody understand, hey, you're not alone in this. We all go through the ups and downs. We all get overwhelmed. Keep fighting the fight, so you just never know what kind of impact you're going to make as long as you're focused on something that's bigger than yourself.
I like when you say that. I can't help but, as a mom, think of the story, Dory, just keep swimming.
That is my mantra many days, especially as a small business owner growing.
There's something I want to ask you that's it's tied back to purpose, but it isn't about purpose, which is a lot of folks, whether they're from small business, nonprofit, or bigger organizations, will say, well, operations is so very different if you're talking a big corporation versus a small business. I want to hear you explain the answer to that.
The difference between purpose in a big organization versus a small organization, or even operations is the complexity of communication. When you're small, I can sit down with my team of 3, or even my 6 subcontractors. I can very clearly communicate. Here's what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it. Here's how we're going to do it, so that you understand the how is just as important as the what. Because that is what sets your culture, right? Culture is important in order to keep people connected and on the same path. Otherwise, we start to randomly disperse. When you have a large organization, it is even more important to maintain small connections. So I will use a former employer that I was with is CapTech Ventures. So when I started at CapTech, I was number 81. They are over 1,000 people and nationwide now. And they have grown, astronomically in 20 years. Just the leadership has done a great job. But when we started to grow into the 100 or even 200 people, we were like, hey, we really like this small, intimate relationship. We knew everybody. How do we keep that? So one of the things I did was created the CapTech Cares program, because I would receive birthday cards from the owner, signed by the owners, and that meant a lot to me. Well, as we grew, it was hard to keep doing. So we started a program where we would, create the birthday cards. And then as we had a lot of young people, as they had children, we had CapTech Kids. And now this program's still going on, but it helps to maintain that connectivity of understanding that individual, because over 1,000 people, it's easy to kind of start getting lost as the companies grow. The other element that I saw implemented by some of the leadership team early on is they would break it down into smaller sub teams, and we would definitely have those sub team meetings. How are you doing? Not just what are you doing? Are we done yet? When are we going to get there? All the project management questions that everybody loves, because it's like, I'm trying my best. But it was more about who you were, how you were growing as an individual. I had a wonderful lady who was a mom mentor. She's like, look, you just need to do mom first. Then, you'll get right back into how to do business. Don't worry about it. So we created those connections as this company grew. Then you had to work on the communications, because you think, well, it'll come top down. But sometimes those middle management people are not trained to be managers or communicators, because they're subject matter experts in what they do, and they do that wonderfully. But if there wasn't a training program implemented to make sure that communication and those connectivities and that culture continued to prosper and foster as you got bigger, then you start to see the disconnect between employee, company, purpose, culture.
There was something that we talked about in our previous show, Mike and Brian Kinsey. Brian, because he's on. And
Brian's my boy.
Yeah, he's in Power Form too. We talked about how, I'll ask you the question because you kind of brought it up with what you just said. Are managers leaders?
Not always.
And so that
I've had to learn to be a manager. I'm a subject matter expert and have been by trade for many years, but I've been offered jobs in the Commonwealth and other places to be a manager. And I'm like, that's not my greatest skill set. And so now I've built a team, and now my primary continuing education is on learning how to be I feel like I've always been a pretty good leader, meaning that I want to encourage people to focus on their strengths, not on their weaknesses. We got to find somebody else that will fulfill your weakness, right? But if you empower your strength and your God-given talents, then we can pull a stronger team together. And I hate micromanaging. I have a 17-year-old. And I micromanage him, but until he can, move on to his own. But I have had to learn how to delegate, how to trust, how to encourage, how to help the people find the best out of who they are, and that is not something that I think that is missed in a lot of mid-sized, large-sized businesses. You get the responsibility, but you don't get all the training that you really need.
Well, one of the things that I like about you is while you're a leader, you always, that you always have to work on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not operated. We all have ego, but some people operate on sheer ego. And I think the best leaders don't operate on sheer ego. And
I operate on vulnerability, sometimes to a fault, but my team understands I'm human. I'm learning, and I have challenges just like they do. And when you can make that human connection, that team just builds, because then you have reciprocity between each other.
well, they feel safe to talk to you if you're human. Well, if I'm making a mistake or I'm struggling with something, I'm not going to somebody who's omnipotent and knows everything. I'm going to another human being who will give me grace.
Right. Or you're afraid you have to put a perfect product. I was one of those early in my career. I was afraid to share things that were in process, where I could get feedback and make those adjustments earlier on, which would probably been better and more efficient as a process engineer. But I was afraid to have how to handle the feedback, and I had to get trained on how to do that. And I had a mentor who was like, I want to see it in its progress.
Well, I want to take a minute because we're getting close to the end of the show. So if you could talk a little bit about your class that is coming up on Thursday, Business Processes 101.
Okay, Mike. Process 101. You know how much we love our processes.
Because they generate?
But they do generate money. Yes.
And you, Stacie Briley Goodman, they order.
They make cadences.
I love cadence and rhythm.
And predictability. That's what we want. Predictability and repeatability. Because if I can't predict, I can't make the money, right?
That's what happens.
So,
or I would like to say, or I cannot live out the purpose of the organization.
That's true. And money helps the purpose. Yeah. The Process 101 training is coming up on Thursday, and we will be going over how to build your processes at any level. So as I've been talking about, and Mike and I'll continue to talk about business maturity, it is just like a child. They learn to crawl, they learn to stand, they learn to walk slowly, then they learn to run, right? Businesses are in that same process. So, but you hear a lot of the bells and whistles about process and automation. Let's do all this great stuff. Well, you need a foundation. It's just like a toddler who just learned how to stand, takes off running. What happens? Splat, face down on the ground, somebody screams. We're going to look at what elements of process can you do at the beginning, the intermediate levels, and then moving into your advanced levels, because they build a foundation which you can grow on through that process maturity. I'm going to also help you figure, well, I don't have time to document, and nobody wants to read. Well, you can do videos, documentation that will help. It also gives the user, by doing that, it gives the user the ability to repeat it until they understand it. It sends consistent messaging. You don't have to worry about the telephone game where I told you this, but you interpreted and changed it and then told Mike something else. So it gives that repeatability, the consistency, the predictability to know that your processes are healthy, that they are supporting and aligned to the purpose and the goal of the organization. So we're going to be going through beginning. It's something for everybody. It just depends on where you are, but I'm gonna try to give you the basics, and then we'll have advanced courses later.
Well, and the great part about our courses, remember, is first 30 minutes is instruction, and then the following 20 minutes is Q&A, so they could ask questions that are a little bit more specific to themselves and organizations in the final 20 minutes. And again, this course is on Thursday at 1 o'clock. It's open for all Empower People members. So to join, all you got to do is go to empowerpeople.org/join. That's MPWRPeople.org/join, and you can sign up for
free.
Money. Yes, we're free. Everybody gets a membership. It's like Oprah.
You get a membership.
You get a membership.
And if you missed it and you're a member, you can watch the video later.
That's right, because for all our members get to go to a members only site and watch all the videos that we do. So even if you attend it and you're like, what was that thing again? You can go to the members only site and watch it. So I want to thank everybody, specifically Stacie today, for participating in the Evolve Together with Empower People show. Stay tuned for a lot more greatness and goodness, and either be at Stacie's course on Thursday or be square.
There you go.
My King Big. My King Big.
Mike King Biggs here, host of One Mike and Mike, Richmond's premier business radio program. We're heard as part of Mike King Biggs Radio Network, which is ESPN Richmond 106.1 daily from 5 to 7 a.m. and Choice 105.3 every day from 2 to 3 p.m., as well as International Business Growth Radio. That is Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern. That's where you find us. That's where the game status come to talk. One of Mike King Biggs Radio is the premier business radio program in Central Virginia. There you go.